Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm probably 50 by 40 now.
Did you do so fast?
I will thank you. Hold on.
Yeah, that's correct.
Mod 5.
Yep.
He's dressing better every day. It's either you're in or
I'm taking after you.
Ready for this?
Yeah, this should be fun.
Ready for 65?
Have you done this? Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, everyone needs different advice. Right, there's a lot of people scared. Yeah. I know a lot of people are watching.
Yeah.
The weather's maybe going in.
I'm not gonna. You're gonna grab it.
Yeah, why don't you do that? And I will. Do you need this now?
Okay, I'll leave it. I probably don't need this either, but I can see the clock.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Is it on? Is it on? It doesn't feel like it's on. Can you all hear me? Excellent. So good evening and welcome to a debate for the Town of Winchester School Committee, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Winchester. Following this debate, there will be a short break, and then we will continue with the select board debate. At this time, can I ask everybody to please silence your phones? A moment to check. Great. Well, my name is Cheryl Shepard, and it is my pleasure to represent the League as we bring you this evening's event. This year, we prepared our online voter guides and solicited public input for debate questions in collaboration with Winchester News. We thank them for working with us to elicit public concerns, develop educational materials for voters, and publicize our candidate forums. They are here this evening with an informational table in the back. We are also pleased to include for the first time a school committee debate question submitted by Winchester High School students, several of whom are here with us this evening. We are so appreciative of the Cummings Foundation for their generous support and to the Jenks Center for making this space available to us. As always, we thank WinCam for broadcasting and streaming these debates over local cable TV channels and the WinCam website. A reminder that the recording will be available later on the WinCam website as well as on YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization with a mission to promote informed participation by all eligible voters and public understanding of major policy issues. We do not support or oppose any candidates or political parties. We do study and take positions about major policy issues. We are organized at the national, state, and local levels, and you can review the League's policy positions and activities on the various websites. If your interests align with our mission, we encourage you to donate or become a member. All people may join, and student membership is free. This year, there are contested seats on the Planning Board, the Select Board, and the School Committee. All candidates who are debating this evening, those that debated a week ago, the candidates who are running unopposed, and many of the candidates for town meeting have generously provided the League and Winchester News with information about themselves and about their candidacies. You may find these profiles on our website at lwvwinchester.org and at winchesternews.org by clicking the red Election Guide button in the upper right-hand corner. So thank you, candidates, for submitting your profiles for these online voter guides. Tonight's debates will be moderated by Nell Forgas. Nell is a trained League moderator and a member of the League of Women Voters of Sudbury.
Good evening. Two candidates are running for one 3-year position on the school committee.
The school committee's duties include defining the goals, making policies and regulations, and hiring and supervising the superintendent of the Winchester Public Schools. The candidates are John Belair and Heather Von Mering. The rules for the debate are as follows. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for an opening statement. The order of speaking was determined ahead of time by a random method. After the opening statements, I will ask the candidates a series of prepared questions in alternating order. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for each answer. After each set of answers, the candidates may request a rebuttal. Should any candidate choose to rebut, each candidate will have up to 30 seconds to do so. Personal references about other candidates or people are out of order. After our final question, each candidate will have up to 60 seconds for a closing statement. The closing statements will be given in reverse order from the opening statements. Our timekeepers are seated in the first row. They will hold up a yellow placard when the speaker has 30 seconds left and a red placard when their time is finished. We will now start with opening statements. You will have 90 seconds each. We will begin with Ms. Von Mering.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing tonight's forum, and to the Jenks Center and WinCamp for broadcasting this event. I'm also grateful to my fellow candidate, John, for being here tonight and for his willingness to serve our community. My name is Heather Von Mering, and I'm grateful to be running for a 3-year term on Winchester School Committee. I'm a working mother of 5 and an active community member. Through advocating for my children and families across Winchester, and my work in literacy and special education, including for students with dyslexia, ADHD, complex learners, and language-based learning challenges, I've seen what's working in our schools and where we can make them even stronger. I believe in thoughtful planning, collaboration, and practical solutions, and have a track record of bringing people together to make meaningful change. That means strengthening communication with families, supporting high-quality literacy and math instruction, ensuring strong special education services, and planning responsibly for our school facilities, including the long-awaited rebuild of Morocco. Through my professional career, service on the Historical Commission, Planning Board, and as town meeting moderator, I've learned how important transparency, collaboration, and accountability are to making good decisions for our community as a whole. I'm running because strong public schools are the heart of a strong, inclusive community, and I'm excited to work together for every student so that every child in Winchester can thrive.
Thank you. Mr. Belair, thank you.
So first of all, I'm so thrilled to be here. We're here at the Jenks Center. It's basically standing room only. I really appreciate the League of Women Voters and Winchester News and Mrs. Von Mering for all being here tonight and for facilitating this conversation. I think it's great to see so many people involved and engaged who care about our public schools here in town. So I moved to Winchester in 2005. I'm a proud graduate of Morocco, McCall, and Winchester High School. And the incredible teachers that I had here in Winchester made me the person that I am today and inspired me to pursue a career in public education. I've had incredibly fulfilling experiences working as a youth mentor in the outdoor education space, right here in Winchester, working as a substitute teacher at VO, and currently with Winchester's A Better Chance program as their weekend mentor. I also work full-time for a national education nonprofit where I focus on school improvement plans, so leveraging data and talking with teachers and stakeholders to improve schools, and also school funding and budget decisions. Education is my wheelhouse, and I'm committed to making sure that Winchester continues to innovate and deliver for all of our students. My campaign is driven by 3 core values: data, empathy, and progress, and I invite you to learn more at belairwps.org.
Thank you. Thank you. I will now ask a series of questions that were prepared by the League of Women Voters of Winchester with extensive input from the public. The questioning will end at 7:25 to allow for closing statements, even if not all of the questions have been asked. The first question: will you support the recommendations from the state of the town process to slow the rate of annual increases in the school budget? Mr. Belair, we'll begin with you. You have 90 seconds.
Yeah, so I first off want to commend the State of the Town initiative for its entire work to make sure that we've left no stone unturned in terms of making sure that we have a comprehensive look at all of the resources available to our town and the strategic additions that we really need to be making to make sure that our students have the support that they need. So I was lucky to be a part of that process as someone who assisted the State of the Town initiative by conducting some data analysis to inform some of the strategic budget requests that we had. So particularly at the elementary school level, I was able to identify some disparities among our elementary schools in terms of academic performance that I think stem from a lack of resources. And since then, because of that, the school committee is making targeted investments in literacy curriculum and math curriculum, and also building out a tier 2 to make sure that we have multi-tiered systems of support so that all students can get the tailored supports that they need. And this list is comprehensive and it's tailored to what our students need. And it isn't asking for the moon, although that would be great for our students too. And I think, talking to my neighbors going door to door, it's clear that there are real pressures that people are facing, right? Like education funding is at risk from the federal level. We've seen the Trump administration make substantial cuts to Title I funding, to IDEA funding. And that's really scary and nerve-wracking. We've also seen an inflationary environment that has made it hard for local revenues to keep up, and we see state budgets tightening. We've also seen declining enrollment in Winchester. Since the 2018-2019 school year, we've lost about 5% of our students. So we're being asked to do more with less. And in this tighter fiscal environment, I'm committed to making sure that we're maximizing the return on investment of the resources we do need to make.
Thank you. Ms. Von Mering, same question. Will you support the recommendations from the State of the Town process to slow the rate of annual increases in the school budget? You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. That is actually a very great question, and I really appreciate whoever offered that up. So the State of the Town was a really great opportunity for all stakeholders to come together. It brought the Finance Committee together with the Select Board, with the School Committee, with so many stakeholders. The Planning Board was there as well, and really looked at what are we doing with our expenditures? Where can we cut? Where can we reduce our overhead? What can we do to bring down the fees or increase fees to offset tax revenue? And with that, we really came up with a good plan overall. And the school committee contributed to that, and I actually support the school, I fully support the school committee's decisions, and so did the Select Board. And when they looked at the model, and when they put in the model, they included the Morocco feasibility study for free cash. They put in math tier support. They put in special education support for physical education for our children with disabilities. They included the literacy piece for free cash as well. They went and did all the things that we are trying to do to build equity in our schools from bell to bell. And but at the same time, the schools needed to do some fiscal responsibility things, and they are making cuts. And those cuts were very strategic. They have very minimal impact, and so I do support that their growth be where it is right now, tied to the capital, to the state of the town.
Thank you. Next question. How can our schools make use of the advantages of artificial intelligence while mitigating the negative impacts? Ms. Von Mering, 90 seconds to you.
Oh, technology. So this is a big topic of conversation right now, all the way from K all the way to our 22-year-old learners. In that setting, AI is just a small piece of a bigger issue we have in our district. We are using technology in not the most thoughtful and productive ways. Studies are coming out that show that technology is actually not helping our students become critical thinkers and create that strong foundation. So if we get into the literacy question, you'll hear me talk about comprehension. And what does that look like? Technology and AI, if we don't develop critical thinkers, will not be able to use AI to the best and highest potential, because we need to be able to be independent thinkers of it. And so with that, I do recommend, as no one is an expert on this and that is running and that is on the school committee, that we do a technology advisory committee. And they really dive deep into how we are using technology, how we could use it to improve our students' education, and also ways that we are using it that are less than desirable. Like a lot of the colleges and even in the high school, they're going to more the blue book style, if you remember that, pen to paper. is really the most powerful thing of ways that we can show our knowledge and that critical thinking. And so I really support a technology advisory committee filled with stakeholders of parents, students, experts, and also our staff to come up with a plan and policies that can be adaptable to as fast as that technology is going to change for us.
Thank you. Mr. Belair, same question.
Yeah, I love this question because, as we all know, AI is profoundly reshaping the global economy. Across the United States right now, more than 80% of high school students report using AI to complete some of their coursework. So it's not like AI might be something in the future that's going on. It's happening right now and happening here in town. And currently, Winchester Public Schools has no comprehensive policy whatsoever to help deal with AI. And that's left teachers kind of, coming up with innovative solutions to their classroom. And I know I've talked to some who've been working very hard in this regard. But there needs to be a roadmap, especially when we're talking about student safety, when we're talking about critical thinking skills. But to technology overall, let's go back in time. The year is 2013. Macklemore's Thrift Shop is topping the Billboard Hot 100. And John Belair is a student at Morocco Elementary School. I'm a 5th grader. So back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And at that point in time, technology in my classroom was Miss Pledge for an hour a week rolling in the laptop cart. And that was how we engaged with technology. It wasn't one-to-one screens interrupting the relationship between a teacher and a student. It was just learning how to type and be digitally literate. 6th grade, right after that, I go to McCall, and Winchester has implemented a BYOD policy for all students. And now all of a sudden, it's totally switched. So as a student, I have personal experience being on both sides of technology in the classroom. And I know firsthand the student mental health challenges that our children are faced with given technology. We need to help our students be critical consumers of AI output. We need to help them learn how to use it effectively. But the bottom line is we need to focus on critical thinking skills and make sure students can learn.
Thank
And
you.
currently there is no plan, and I'm
Thank you.
committed to coming up with a plan.
Thank you.
I would just want to add a comment to that.
You may have 30 seconds.
I just wanted to add on top of that plan, we also need to have professional development. Our teachers really are behind on the knowledge of what is going on and what they can do to help support our students. And where they can be most effective in using technology to enhance their learning, not to replace it, right? So technology is not meant to take the place of direct instruction. It's meant to be there as a tool for further on to go further out into the world. And how do we give our students that technology in an appropriate manner?
Thank you. Would you like 30 seconds?
Yeah, I would agree completely. Like about 70% of U.S. public school teachers report using AI, but it's kind of a haphazard approach right now. When we're thinking about lesson planning, we know how stressed teachers are. My mom works as a public school special education teacher over in Lexington. I know talking to her about the crunch that teachers are under, AI can be a tool to help teachers cut down on some of their lesson planning time, and I hope that we can give teachers the professional development to make sure students develop the critical thinking skills, but that we also save them time so they can really focus on in-person instruction with their students.
Thank you. Next question. Would you recommend rebalancing the use of computer-based and paper-based educational resources, such as physical books and printed materials? Why or why not? Mr. Belair, you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of my job, I do like school performance reviews and site visits. And last week I was out in Minnesota, and there was one school that we were in where students were learning math on a laptop. And instead of taking a pen to paper and solving out an equation, they were using their tracking pad on a laptop to draw out numbers. And it's just ridiculous, some of the ways that technology has been put in front of our students. We have a lot of great assets here in town, right? We have Winchester High School, a beautiful building. The language lab in there is phenomenal. The brand new Lynch School and Net Zero School. But by far our greatest asset are our educators here in town. The people who changed my life, who as I was coming over here today shot me messages of encouragement and support, because that's how committed our teachers are to supporting our students, not just when they're in the classroom, but beyond that. And when we put a screen in between a student and their teacher, we really detract from that in-person learning that we're able to have to be successful with teachers. So absolutely, we need a rebalancing in that regard. And if we're going to be using technology, it needs to be in a targeted, limited way to help students be ready to write essays in college, to be out in the workforce, but not to replace what they're doing in person with teachers. It's that relationship piece that's really critical, and I hope we are able to fix that balance to make sure that students are able to be successful.
Thank you. Ms. Von Mering, same question.
Like I said, the studies are really saying, as you look at it, that to really, especially K through 5, technology is hindering their ability to get that critical thinking in the foundation. And there are examples that a lot of parents have expressed in the district where technology has been used and used in inappropriate ways in the classroom. And the only way we can get control of this is to do a full study of what every teacher is doing, what is going on inside our classrooms, how technology is being used, and to bring a collaborative effort together of an advisory technology committee to analyze what is going on, how we can do it, what are those best practices, how can we make sure that our children are getting those foundational core skills they need to succeed out in this world. And then, so overall, yes, that we need to rebalance the technology in our schools. No doubt we have significant issues, but we are going to fix that, and that is part of my plan.
Thank you. Next question. How might the schools better address the anxiety many high school students experience about their grades and applying to college? Ms. Von-Mering.
Oh, this is a near and dear question. So I have a senior. The anxiety around college, there's a lot of things that the district and the ways that we could support our students better through this process. I have multiple facets of viewpoints on this issue, and I think that we are struggling to help our students see what options are available to them. It's not just college, it is what all the opportunities, including trade school, and all the possibilities that they have. But when you add so many possibilities, that anxiety can become overwhelming, and helping them focus on what their interests are, where do they really see themselves in the future, and making sure that we can build those skills. And really that starts in 9th grade. It doesn't start in 11th grade when they open up Navient. They need to start it much sooner in their high school career to have those discussions and have those one-on-one point conversations with each student to build that path in a very structured way so that they can fulfill where they want to do and do it with the least amount of anxiety.
Thank you. Mr. Belair, same question.
So we're in the midst of a youth mental health crisis, not just in Winchester, but nationally. Last school year, 1 in 4 Winchester High School students found their stress and anxiety to be overwhelming most or all of the time. And 2 in 3 Winchester High School students reported getting fewer than 8 hours of sleep on the average school night. That's completely unacceptable. Our students want to push themselves. They want to be challenged. They want to take rigorous course loads. They want to be involved in extracurricular activities. And we should support them in doing that. But we don't have the wraparound supports right now so that every student can be successful. We have 1,400 plus students at Winchester High School and 2 adjustment counselors. That's 700 students per 1 counselor. That ratio is unacceptable. Thankfully, as part of this override, we have additional investments in psychologists and social emotional learning to help continue supporting our students to make sure that they have what they need. But beyond that, like, high school is a time where you should be able to find belonging amongst your peers, whether that's in the classroom and you feel committed to the work that you're doing, whether that's extracurricular activities or athletics. For me, one space at high school that was always really comforting was the choir program with Mr. Buford, where no matter what was going on in my classes, I could come into that room and be able to focus on improving on something with my peers. And we need to support spaces like that so our students can really be themselves, express themselves, and aspire to do great things and have the supports around them to be successful in that.
Thank you. Next question. How can the schools better support the needs of families and students with different abilities and needs, and streamline the process of accessing the services, activities, and coursework they need? Mr. Belair, 90 seconds.
Yeah, thank you so much for this question. I think one of the most fulfilling and also disheartening things about this campaign process has been talking with parents whose students' needs have not been met whatsoever. I've talked with one parent who on three separate occasions tried to get special education services for her child, and each time was denied. And it's completely unfair and unacceptable that the burden, because of how special education law under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act was set up, that parents are required to be the ones who have to advocate for their child to get the supports that they need. You know, talking with my mom over the dinner table about the IEP team meetings that she's in at school, it should really be a collaborative process where teachers and students and parents are all working together to make sure that all students have the opportunity to succeed and progress. And one investment as part of this override, which I'm very thrilled to be voting yes for, is the implementation of a tier 2, particularly at our elementary school. And this is targeted supports where students who need additional help in literacy and math, about 15 to 20% of students, can get the support that they need at an early age. When we think about the difference between a kindergartner and a first grader, right? That's the difference between knowing how to read and not knowing how to read. That's a huge, huge gap. If you think about it, the high school 11th and 12th graders, they're oftentimes taking the same classes. So the more we're able to invest at an early age in programs to make sure all students have strong foundations, the more successful we're going to be later on and the better return on investment we'll have for taxpayers.
Can you
Thank
repeat
you.
the question, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
How can the schools better support the needs of families and students with different abilities and needs and streamline the process of accessing the services, activities, and coursework they need? You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So this goes to the investments that the school is looking to make in tier 2, in literacy, in math. With that comes assessments and are tied into those programs. So when you look at the base foundational level, let's use literacy as example. We're looking at phonemic awareness, phonics, vocab, fluency comprehension, writing, spelling, right? And we analyze each child on their level of where they're supposed to be and where those holes are. And from there, if we can get them and we can help them in the classroom, we do. If those holes still exist, then they move to tier 2. Tier 2 is not just for literacy and math. It is for all subjects. If you are struggling in Mandarin, you should be getting support in tier 2. Tier 2 is also a short-term help. It's a short-term stop. It's a little gas station that you'd stop at to get help. If you, after 6 months, if you cannot make it and you can need additional support, then special ed should be kicking in automatically and should be doing the tests and assessments on that student to really get them the supports. To really help all of our children, every single one of them. It starts at the core of the classroom, and then we need to make sure we are following through, that their records, we have student records that are following them through every year. As of maybe 2 years ago, we didn't have that in the district. We didn't have running records with our students. The district is making tremendous progress, and it's something we should be really proud of, because actually the most place where the culture change has occurred is in special education in our schools. But there is still work to be done, and I really would like to do that work for you.
Thank you. Next question. Do you think the school district should review and possibly revise how school and teacher performance are uniformly measured and acted upon? Ms. Von Mering, 90 seconds.
So prior to 2020, prior to COVID, we had teacher reviews in place in the district. We also had administration reviews. Over COVID, those were lost. And at this point, we actually don't have in place teacher reviews inside the district. So if you remember, a lot of us, we would go and you'd get the report at the end of the semester, you'd fill out your review, it'd get turned back to the teacher, it'd be compiled, see if there's a common thread and things that we could work on to improve. Those need to be returned. That is a policy standard. That is something that needs to be put out there and reminded that we need to put back into those reviews, and they need to be put in place. But it's a policy, and then thereafter it's a responsibility of Dr. Hackett along with all the principals to make sure that we are followed through. But those reviews also need to take place for Dr. Hackett, a 360 review of him as well, and also our principals and our administrators.
Thank you. Mr. Belair, same question.
Yeah, I think instructional coaching and helping teachers continue to improve and get feedback is critical. But I think it really starts from the top in terms of when we're looking at like accountability, continuous improvement. And I think a big gap in growth area currently in Winchester Public Schools is around coherence. I think if you were to go to 20 different classrooms around town and ask teachers in those 7 buildings, like what are the goals for Winchester Public Schools this year? Like what are we striving for? You'd probably get 20 different answers. I think the same might be true with some current school committee members as well. And what I want to do is really make sure that we have clearly articulated goals. And I think often with the state of the town investments that we're going to be making with this override, we kind of know what those are, but we don't have clear, measurable, specific criteria for success that we're looking for. And I think when we're looking and monitoring that progress, having that publicly available, like how great would it be to have a data dashboard on the Winchester Public School website so you could see how are we doing post-COVID in terms of 4th grade classroom teachers? Are we able to move the needle for students? And I think that is something we can continue to do or continue to grow into. And it's honestly like common practice in pretty much every larger school district in the country. It not only helps us make sure we're doing what we can for our students, but gives accountability to taxpayers so that when we go in front of town meeting and say, hey, we need an extra however many $1 million to support our school budget this year compared to last year, we know what the investments are. We know how we're expecting to monitor and define success. So that way we can continue to move the needle forward for kids.
Thank you. You may have 30 seconds.
So I disagree a little bit on that. And the reason is it's not top down from my perspective, it's bottom up. So yes, the policy comes from the school committee for the reviews and to get that information, but that feedback is from the bottom up. And so that information is most critical to the school committee to get, to be able to make informed policies that really conclude all the voices. And so I don't see the role of the school committee as top down. I see it as taking and gathering and letting all of that information come up so we can have the most informed decisions of our policies and that we don't have blinders on.
Thank you. Mr. Biller, would you like 30
Yeah,
seconds?
I mean, I would agree with Mrs. Von Mering on that point. Like, when I said top down, I wasn't referring to canceling out teachers. I think the biggest takeaway for me from the literacy report that came out in 2024 was this system of unresponsiveness in which teachers had been clamoring for years, parents, including Mrs. Von Mering, had been clamoring for years around reform, and that had been ignored systemically by administrators, and teachers' opinions had been suppressed. So I think we need to have a collaborative approach where all voices are able to be at the table and be heard.
Thank you. Next question. How can the schools increase the capacity in humanities and arts courses to accommodate the students who want to take them? Mr. Belair, 90 seconds.
Yeah, so I was out knocking doors a couple weeks ago, and there was a student who opened the door who was a 6th grader at McCall. And I asked, how's school going? Like, how do you like it? And she had just moved up from Morocco, and she loved it. She was having a great time at McCall, had been fitting in. And I asked if there was anything that she wanted to see changed. And what she said was, there are too many study halls. There was this one kid who was in 5 study halls one day, and everyone at school was talking about it. And I think that that's an area of growth that we currently have, is making sure that our students are learning and in front of instruction and teachers. And I think there's no more important place to do that than in the humanities. I recently pulled some voter files from Town Hall, and if you were to look at the folks who were ages 18 to 25, so folks who are contemporaries of mine in high school, only 5% of them voted in the 2025 town election, and only 10% of them voted in the 2024 presidential election, perhaps the most consequential election of our lifetime. And I think that there's more we can do at the high school and in the middle school to promote and foster a culture of civic engagement through the humanities, through some of our social studies courses. Volunteer, like, we have such a great, rich civic history here in Winchester. I mean, looking around this room, I see so many great leaders who are dedicated to their community and improving it. And I hope we can continue to find ways for our students to plug into those so that we can have community-based learning and research going on at our high school.
Thank you. Ms. Von Mering.
Oh, this is a good one. For my 5 children, all of them, well, 4 of them spend way too much time in study halls. So I do recognize that there is a problem here. But with the state of the town, the school committee actually did go look at this, and they are including it under the fiscal year 28 for additional courses and electives at the high school. So really, to make this happen, you got to vote for the override. So to really get the more depth of curriculum at the high school and the middle school, we need the funding for those teachers, and we need the funding for that staff and those programs. So I would say vote for the override, because that's how we're going to do it, and let's do it.
Thank you. Next question. How do you envision the future of the Morocco School building? Ms. Von Mering, 90 seconds.
Oh, I can't wait. I am a strong supporter of the Morocco building. I have been advocating for that building and Lynch for years. I actually, a lot of people don't know, I actually lived in town during the Ambrose, briefly. But it has been so talked about, and I want it to be everything that they deserve. I want it to be, I want every child to have access to the same opportunities that the Lynch families have. I want their art department to have all those resources that are now at Lynch, the music department, all the instruments that are there. I want them to have the technology in that building. I want the safety glass. I want them to have the same thing that all of our elementary schools have. They deserve it. They have waited for it. And with that and having all those resources, I can't imagine where those Morocco kids would go, because they are thriving, but they will thrive even better in the right environment for them.
Thank you. Mr. Belair, same question.
Yeah, I agree completely. I was fortunate enough to be a student at Morocco from 2009 to 2014. And even then, it was pretty clear that the building needed a lot of substantial improvement. It's critical that every child has an opportunity to learn in a safe, vibrant school community. And it's also important that every teacher has an opportunity to teach in a facility that is just as safe. We've seen also declining enrollment at Morocco. And I think part of that is due to the fact that if we have a brand new Lynch school, families might want to send their kids there, or they might look at private schooling options. And I think that if we were to invest in a new Morocco, which I sincerely hope that we do, that will bring some families back and hopefully counter that enrollment decline trend. But there also needs to be a concerted town-wide effort to fill our schools with more students so that we can provide more comprehensive services. Chapter 70 is Massachusetts' state school funding formula, and it gives us money based off of the number of students we have. If we want to be able to provide comprehensive music and art and all of those things, we need to do that. Morocco is such a beautiful school. I have fond memories of being there every year for the Memorial Day assembly when Francis J. Morocco's family would come back and talk about his sacrifice and service to our country. I remember being there for the field day when the fire truck would come to the back. Sometimes the ladder would go up and down and we'd be disappointed because we wanted to get sprayed by the hose. And I really hope that we can move this project forward. But in order to do that, we need to invest in the feasibility study that's wrapped up in this override. So if you want a new Morocco, vote yes on March 21st.
Thank you. This will be our last question. How do you increase transparency to the stakeholders in our school system? Students, parents, faculty, and the community at large. Mr. Belair, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about my experience in strategic planning and helping school districts and leaders set measurable goals so that we're able to define success. But there's another constituency that I want to call out here, and that's our students. When I decided that I was going to run for Winchester School Committee, the first thing I did was reach out to current students. I met with the Model UN team and the Black Student Union and the Student Council, and have had so many fulfilling experiences talking to students. I have 5 current Winchester High School students who are working on my campaign as campaign fellows who helped prep me for this debate tonight and have been working around town to help listen to people and hear about what their issues are. And I think that's a group that really is affected most directly by the issues that we're talking about, and one that I'm committed to continuing to elevate alongside parents, alongside teachers, because we all care about schools. We all want the schools to be successful, and we want our students to be successful. So I'm committed to listening to everyone. Everyone who's emailed me, I've gotten coffee with. There are a few people who emailed me today or yesterday that I haven't gotten back to yet. And I'm committed to being open and transparent and hope to elevate your voices in issues. So please feel free to reach out if you'd like to chat.
Thank you. Ms. Von Mering.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. How do you increase transparency to the stakeholders in our school system? Students, parents, faculty, and the community at large.
Oh, we could talk about this for a long time, but I only have 90 seconds. So there, on an overall, inside the schools, we can really improve transparency in how we collaborate with all the councils, the PFA, WinPAC, when the staff, when we are dealing with an issue, let's say around special education, and the school committee is making decisions, we really should be bringing in WinPAC. WinPAC should be sitting at that table with us. They have the most on point with all the parents of special education students, and they have the best resource and knowledge of what's going on. And so not just having our administration, but also having the people that represent the entities that we are making policy or discussing issues on. Also with that, I do want to touch base about our community at large. Throughout this campaign, a lot of members of our community who are not inside the schools, they are not parents, they are not students, have expressed that they want more connection to our schools. And that is one piece that is really near and dear to me. It showed up very strongly in the master plan of 2030 that I chaired for the planning board. Our people of our community who are not inside those schools want to have access to our schools. They want to be able to go to our choir concerts. They want to know when our band events are, when our athletic events are. They want that connection. And we really need to work on our communication with everyone inside our community, inside the schools, outside, everyone in Winchester. So there's more transparency of what's going on and where are opportunities for us to work together collaboratively.
Thank you. We will now ask the candidates for their closing statements. You have up to 60 seconds, yes, each. Mr. Belair, 60 seconds.
So one thing that I think we often forget, particularly in the context of budget decisions around the schools, is that we all want the schools to be good, right? Like, who wants the schools to be good? Right. Everybody wants the schools to be successful. We want our students to achieve well. We want them to build the futures they envision for themselves. I want the schools to be good too, but that isn't why you should vote for me. You should vote for me, or I hope to earn your vote, because I possess a unique combination of personal experiences, research skills, and policy expertise to drive change for our students and districts. Helping schools get better is literally my job. Understanding school funding is literally my job. And I will not stop fighting for our kids here in town. If elected, I would be the only school committee member to work full-time or work period in the field of education. And I think the field of education is a pretty important voice to have in the room when we're making school committee decisions. I would also be the only graduate of Winchester Public Schools to be on the committee, let alone recently. I invite you to learn more at bellairwps.org, and I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Von Meering, 60 seconds.
All right, thank you again to the League, to the Jenks Center for hosting tonight's discussion, and thank you as well for a thoughtful and respectful conversation about the future of our schools. This election cycle has really shown that this is about working together to build the strongest schools for every student. I believe Winchester schools should be places where every student is seen, heard, and supported to thrive. That means inclusive school culture, strong academics, transparent communication with families, and thoughtful long-term planning for our facilities and finances. I'll bring collaborative leadership, proven advocacy for students, special literacy and special education, and a deep commitment to listening to families, educators, and the broader community. My campaign message, Together for Every Student, reflects what I believe our schools should stand for: strong partnerships between families, teachers, and the community at large, and thoughtful decisions that honor each student's unique strengths and needs. If elected, I will work hard to support our students and educators, strengthen trust and communication, and help ensure Winchester Schools culture to provide the opportunities every child deserves here. Thank you for being here tonight, and I would be honored to earn your vote on March 21st. Thank you.
Thank you for participating in this debate. Members of the audience, if you would please stay seated, or you may certainly stand and stretch so that we can take a brief 5-minute break for the candidates to change places, and then we will move on to the select board debate.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. No.
Oh, okay. You gotta keep, oh, we have to leave that for the, I don't think Seamus needs a Heather Von
Can you please take your seats? We are about to start the select board debate.
I forgot I was gonna bring him around. Yeah, to make it properly done. It should be. I mean, you know me, I'm the guy who said 2 terms and let's let people move on.
Can you please take your seats so that we can begin the select board debate? I'm looking at you, precinct 6 through 8. Thank you, everyone. If you can please take your seats, we are about to start the select board debate. Thank you very much.
Good evening. 2 candidates are running for 1 3-year position on the Select Board. The Select Board is established by Massachusetts law and is the executive body of the town. The Select Board appoints and supervises the town manager to assist them in carrying out town laws and operations. The candidates are Michelle Pryor, an incumbent, and Seamus Brady. The rules for the debate are as follows. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for an opening statement. The order of speaking was determined ahead of time by a random method. After the opening statements, I will ask the candidates a series of prepared questions in rotating order. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds for each answer. After each set of answers, the candidates may request a rebuttal. Should any candidate choose to rebut, each candidate will have up to 30 seconds to do so. Personal references about other candidates or people are out of order. After our final question, each candidate will have up to 60 seconds for a closing statement. The closing statements will be given in reverse order from the opening statements. Our timekeepers are seated in the first row. They will hold up a yellow placard when the speaker has 30 seconds left and a red placard when their time is finished. Before we begin opening statements, we would just like to ask the audience to please hold your applause until the end of the program. We will now start with opening statements. You will have 90 seconds each. Mr. Brady will go first.
So first of all, thank you to my fellow candidate, Michelle, who I have the utmost respect for. She's done incredible work for the town as a select board member in terms of making our farm a wonderful place. Thank you to the league for organizing, and thank you to the audience who's watching live or is going to watch this later. I myself never expected to be running for select board. I really shouldn't be running for select board. My wife is on the select board, but unfortunately, no one else wanted to run. So here we are. Michelle deserves a competitive election with a serious opponent. Right? Right? I'm running because I wholeheartedly believe we need another progressive voice on the select board. The recent vote on the override shows that we need to be more willing to invest long term. This is Winchester's moment to be bold, to be innovative, and to truly give the people of this town what they deserve. A pool, a teen center, a community center. We need to make long-term investments, and I believe this is our moment. At this point, it might surprise you, I'm not sure who I'm voting for select board. But my hope is you will give us your consideration. And no matter the outcome, I'm going to continue to do all I can do to help the people in this town who need help. I'm never going to give up on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pryor, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you to WinCam and the league. Hope this is on for hosting tonight. I'm Michelle Pryor, 21-year resident of Winchester, 15-year town meeting member from Precinct 4, and on the select board since 2023. My 2 daughters have gone through the public school system from Lynch Integrated Preschool through the high school. I have one in the post-grad program at the high school, and the school's reputation is why we moved here in 2005. My professional career has been focused on public sector consulting, helping state and local agencies to manage organizational change, implement policies, and respond to state and federal mandates while growing their leadership capacity. That experience has given me the skills to be a successful select board member and chair. Those skills like active listening, meeting facilitation, and effectively moderating debate. I'm also a longstanding volunteer in town. I served on the board of Right Lock Farm, was on the finance committee for 6 years, 1 year as chair, and I built effective working relationships with a variety of town staff, volunteers, town meeting members. I'm an independent thinker, you probably figured that out by now, willing to dive into the details, and I try to be pragmatic and collaborative when addressing the issues. I'm seeking re-election to the select board because I want to see Winchester continue to be a community where our excellent schools educate our children and prepare them for life beyond high school, and with residents of all ages, backgrounds, ethnicities, and incomes able to stay here with a variety of housing options. I care about everything that makes Winchester special. It's people, schools, small businesses, natural environment, and open spaces. And residents can expect me to continue to bring people together to move Winchester forward.
Thank you. I will now ask a series of questions that were prepared by the League of Women Voters of Winchester with extensive input from the public. The questioning will end at 8:05 to allow for closing statements, even if not all questions have been asked. First question. Would you immediately recommend any specific cost reductions in the event the override does not pass? Ms. Pryor, 90 seconds.
Immediately means I'm not exactly sure, like the day after the election. However, we will have an override vote. I hope people support it. Were it not to pass, we will still go through a town meeting process with the finance committee presenting a budget to town meeting. But in the candidate response, I'd work with the town manager to identify those areas in town where there are positions that can potentially be unfilled. Are there efficiencies that we can have? Are there retirement incentives we might want to offer? So I'm not sure what cuts I would immediately recommend beyond using the manager's expertise and leadership, maybe some town feedback from the finance committee, and looking to see where we have positions that perhaps we can go with a slightly reduced staff or slightly reduced hours. So we won't know that yet, and I hope we don't face that reality.
Thank you. Mr. Brady, same question. Would you immediately recommend any specific cost reductions in the event the override does not pass?
So I think in that instance, you really need to be planful. And unfortunately, I've had to cut school budgets on multiple occasions in my professional capacity. And I think when we had the best outcomes were when we reached out to the constituents. So I think if the override doesn't pass, you almost need to have a mini state of the town to hear from the citizens, okay, the override didn't pass. So now we have X and we only have X. So what are we going to spend X on? And I think it's important to have that discussion because that's not really a discussion that I feel like we've had because I hope, I mean, I'm wearing the button, right? Every candidate that's come up supports the override. So the override should pass, but worst case it does not. I think we need to open the conversation and say, okay, we didn't think we'd be here. Let's talk to the experts at the town level. But let's also talk to the citizens because, again, everybody serves the citizens. That's why we're here. We want to do what is best for the citizens, what they collectively feel they need. So I think we definitely need to have their voice. But again, I am very confident that the override will pass, and I appreciate you all voting in support of it.
Thank you. Next question. How would you review operations and funds flow in all town departments to find opportunities for streamlining, improving productivity, and cutting costs and inefficiency? Mr. Brady, 90 seconds.
I guess I think, we have to believe we have the best people in charge. If we don't believe that we have the best town manager that we can have, we need to look at that. But we should believe that, and so we need to let our town manager do their job. Same thing. I think we have the best superintendent that we could have. And if that's the case, we need to trust them. The DPW director. Every staff member, I think we need to trust these people. If these people need help and support, I'm the first one there to help them. I think we have so many wonderful volunteers that will help them. But at the same time, these people are very competent. These people did not just appear here with no expertise. They all went through rigorous interview processes. They were the best candidates. There's not a better candidate hanging out waiting for a job. We have the best people there. You have to trust they are doing their very best, okay? If someone thinks they could do better, apply for the job next time it's open, you know? Like, go ahead. I mean, I say that in education all the time when people are critical of someone. I'm like, okay, well, next time that principalship is open, why don't you put your name forth? So again, I think our staff works incredibly hard. I think our volunteers work incredibly hard. Could we do better? We can always do better. You can always reassess, and that should be a constant cycle. But it's not like we have, you know, there's not all this waste. I mean, that's just if you think that, I can't help you. I just can't help you. I don't know where you get that from, and that's okay. I respect your opinion, but I just can't get there. So I think for me, we're good. We got good people.
Thank you. Ms. Pryor, same question.
I have to agree with Mr. Brady. We have good people, and I have to agree. I don't think it's waste. I do know that in looking in State of the Town, we looked at a variety. We had 6 work streams. I assigned myself to 2 of them. Workstream 4 was specifically looking at operational efficiencies, opportunities to regionalize, opportunities to leverage economies of scale. So where I would look, our funds flow very, I think, appropriately, effectively, and to the right end. We have a very competent comptroller who is, you know, by the letter of the law, following government accounting principles. We could potentially, one area we explored within the State of the Town is where we purchase things. So where schools are purchasing and the town is purchasing, we all need paper for our copiers. Maybe we all need, you know, salt and sand for the driveways and the front steps at Town Hall and the front steps at Lincoln School. Can we purchase those things? We could procure those things together. Schools have an opportunity to procure services for 3 years. The town is limited to 1 year. There's some changes at the state level being considered to allow for that purchasing to happen in a more streamlined basis. Could we regionalize some services? We have regional public health. My mic just cut out. Perhaps there are places to do more where we have natural partners and we have strengths and skills transfer station. We can recycle glass. Somebody else can recycle plastic. So we're looking at that, and I plan to continue to advance those opportunities if reelected. There's something there, and I think we need to pursue it.
Thank you. Please.
I think I'm really glad, you know, Michelle brought up the transfer station. I think the transfer station is a great opportunity. I remember from my time on Finance Committee, there's been continuous conversation. How do we utilize that asset to bring in more revenue? And I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. And I think that's not the only thing. So I think we can look at other places. We could rent our school buildings more. We could rent our town hall more. We have these beautiful buildings. I think we could work towards getting more revenue out of maximizing space. Schools don't need to sit empty at night. My kid goes and practices soccer in Lexington at one of the elementary schools there. Why aren't the kids practicing soccer at one of the elementary schools in Winchester, and we should be getting rental money?
Thank you. Ms. Pryor, would you like 30 seconds?
No, thanks.
Thank you. Next question. Regardless of the outcome of the override vote, how would you work with the school committee to try to slow the annual increases in the school budget? Ms. Pryor.
Sure. So as vice chair of the State of the Town, we did reach some agreement with the school committee to look at that 4-year growth rate, 5% this year, 4% in the out years on an annualized basis. And very much when I was on the Finance Committee for years, when we talk about budgets, it's not about cutting, it's about growing more slowly or growing at a different pace. That 4% and 5% growth target that the school committee agreed to, which the previous candidates I think are supportive of, one place that we're looking to actually be able to achieve that and still invest and still do level services, a very deliberate effort to carve out one-time expenses. So if a curriculum for literacy is a one-time purchase, you pay for it separately, you install, maybe you pay an annual licensing fee, but don't build it into that operating budget that grows year over year. That started last spring with a literacy article at town meeting. There's a more intentional effort to say, what is a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year investment? When that's done, it doesn't go into level services. Level services are the teachers, the staff, and health insurance, and professional education. So that growth target is achievable not because we're going to have larger classroom sizes and stressed out staff. It's because we're going to look where we can have one-time expense not go into the operating budget.
Thank you. Mr. Brady, same question.
Would you mind repeating it?
Certainly. Regardless of the outcome of the override vote, how would you work with the school committee to try to slow the annual increases in the school budget?
So I think, again, it's more about looking at an opportunity for revenue. When I was on the school committee, you can watch the tape, I said, let's do school choice. Let's open up our high school. Let's have a few slots. A lot of people don't know in Massachusetts, you can open up your high school and you can decide we want to put 10 open slots in the freshman class, and kids can come from any other town for free. They can come, and that other town has to send whatever your pure pupil spending is. And if you added 10 kids to the high school, you don't have to hire any more staff, but you're going to get about $150,000, which is at least one position, right? And so maybe you add 20 kids to the high school. You still don't need to add a staff member. And I pushed for that. I advocated for that. The committee decided against it. That's fine. But that's the type of thing I think we need to do. Again, maximizing opportunities. Our school system, we have Parkhurst. We could be renting Parkhurst to a collaborative. The collaboratives want that space. We could be bringing a lot of money from that. I know that it's been transferred, but similar with the Mystic School. You know, there's opportunities for us to maximize these buildings and spaces that we have, and to bring in more revenue from the schools. And I think that's kind of it's a missed opportunity. And I think if we look at what the rec has done with their new director, he's not new anymore, but he really increased the revenue. And I think we need that mindset from the schools. Like, there's opportunities to create revenue from schools, and we're kind of leaving a lot of money on the table. And I think that can help keep the growth where it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. How would you expedite housing developments already approved on town-owned land? For example, at the Waterfield lot and the corner of Swanton and Washington Streets. Mr. Brady, 90 seconds.
So I think, obviously part of it is regulatory, and, any powers and abilities that select board members may have to get that done, I think is important. But then at the same time, I think part of it too is to use your, for lack of a better term, bully pulpit, right? As a select board member, you have the opportunity to talk a lot, to really hold people's feet to the fire. Like, this needs to get done. We need to move this along. This needs to get done. Let's keep talking about it. It is embarrassing how long it has taken us to do a lot of this development. You look at Lexington, that they were in the New Yorker because of how quickly they were able to build a lot of affordable housing. Again, we're not Lexington, but we don't always have to trail Lexington either. We're a pretty great place. We beat them in basketball. It was a great game. So we can beat Lexington. Not that that's what this is about, but again, there's opportunities. I think the town should be investing. I think every year the town should buy a house and put it in a trust to be deeded to be affordable housing. I think that should happen every single year. I think that's the kind of investment, because I don't believe in high density public housing. All the research shows that's not good. I believe in mixed income housing. I have a good friend who is a single mom who won a lottery in Concord and lives in a very nice building. And for her and her child, it is an amazing experience. She is surrounded by a community that lifts her up, supports her, and helps her, and we're denying that. I appreciate what the planning board did, but we just stopped that from happening. That's not going to happen.
Thank you. Ms. Pryor, same question.
Thank you. So Seamus is right. The select board has a bully pulpit. We have access to developers, specifically Washington, Swanton Street, Waterfield. The select board manages those land disposition agreements. I think watching the planning board debate last week, one thing that several of the candidates said was just making it easier to develop in town, make it easier to do business in Winchester. So pre-meetings with developers, meetings with the planning board. We had the Waterfield developer have coffee with myself and another colleague. We have a question coming up. We need to extend some dates. We voted that Monday night. We did a parking plan with the town planner. Can you please invite the new town manager to that? He needs to know who you are. He needs to know what you're doing. We can facilitate dialogue. We can facilitate relationships. We can work with the planning board. If they want to do the how to do and what can get built, what's possible, what isn't possible, so we don't get to the 11th hour and realize that curb cut can't go there. You can't park. That water's going to flow downhill and flood the neighbors. So I think we can do more in collaboration with the planning board. We can make sure the town manager and public safety are in meetings with developers, and the town's expectations are known of what's possible, what's allowed, and we can then get behind and help facilitate and expedite that development.
Thank you. Next question. Would you recommend taking another look at town-owned land in order to come up with any new ideas for development? Ms. Pryor.
So I think one area that has come up is a swimming pool. So would we look at town-owned land for additional development, be that recreational facilities, housing facilities? We don't have massive acres of town-owned land. So I think, but there are some parcels. So is there, a recreation sort of type use that we could have? Hockey rinks come up a lot, but obviously the swimming pool has been on the agenda for years. I would take it beyond maybe even town-owned land. So there's a parcel here and a parcel there. It needs to fit the zoning for that area. It needs to fit what the residents might want. So we might think, well, that's a great parcel. Let's turn it into a tattoo parlor. Maybe the neighbors may not wish for that. So we need to be mindful and collaborative. But on other parcels, one thing that Holton and Cross Street have is light industrial. I was on the economic development plan with Diab, the former planning board chair, Beth Rudolph, with the Chamber of Commerce. There are some opportunities. We have a consultant study that says, where do people come? Pliables brings a lot of teenagers into the town center. Where do they go? Where do they shop? I think there's an opportunity to do more retail, catering, commercial, maybe incubators and kitchens. We have a massive hospital up the hill. I'm guessing they have conferences. They order lunch in. Elaine's is scrambling to fill orders. I think there's an opportunity to actually do some things that can feed our office workers, feed our hospital staff, potentially cater to our schools. And it might be that, well, not town-owned land, it's zoned land in those areas that might be able to generate income.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Brady, same question.
Would you just mind repeating it?
Yes. Would you recommend taking another look at town-owned land in order to come up with any new ideas for development?
I think that's a great question. I think, hopefully very soon we're going to have an opportunity. The Morocco campus is an incredible place. It certainly is much more land than we need to build a school. So I think there's possibilities there when we're developing Morocco to, Michelle's point, could have a pool with the new Morocco school. Maybe we'll have a small hockey rink. I don't know. But I mean, there's possibilities. You could have some kind of community center there. I think I'm used to, I started my career in urban schools, and a school was open many, many hours beyond when students were there. There was the gym in the school. The recreation center was connected to the school. There was a pool there. There were other resources. There was a community space. There was a stage. And again, I think we just, when I drive around in the evening sometimes, not that I drive around in the evening, but, I see all these buildings and no one's using them, right? Like Town Hall sits empty most nights, and the schools sit empty most nights. So I think a lot of it is like, let's maximize what we have. We have really nice facilities. If you compare us to other places, we have a really good town hall. We have really nicely new built school buildings. But even there, I wonder, okay, the new Lynch gym is great, but it barely seats anyone. Why did we do that? Why did we build a gym that doesn't have seating? That's just nuts. How much more would it have cost for 10 more square feet? I don't know.
Thank you. Next question. What would you propose to make Winchester more attractive to a greater number and variety of businesses? Mr. Brady.
So I really love this question. I mean, I think Michelle said it very well. We need to really, reduce these regulations that kind of get in the way. I love outdoor dining. We were fortunate enough, we were abroad for the February vacation week, and outdoor dining is everywhere, and its places are open later, and there's just a lot more flexibility in what you can do. I think of, and it's not the town's fault, but I think of Nouvelle Maison, and they're battling to get this ability to be able to serve wine and charge for it, and it's just why do we do that? And again, that's not necessarily the town's fault per se. There are other powers that are above that are causing this delay, but it shouldn't take that long. That's just, we should be helping businesses do what they need to do, right? Bookends should be hey, you know what? We want to serve beer and wine and be open till 10. And it should be great, thank you for doing that. That's lovely. We'll all be there, right? It shouldn't be let's see, wait a minute. Oh, that could be really dangerous. Yeah, that could be really dangerous, serving beer and wine at bookends. No, let's encourage, maybe it would, but let's encourage these businesses businesses, let's help them. You know, like, I mean, I'm crazy. I'd say do outdoor dining all year round. Like, if people want to be out there in igloos with little fire pits, let them do it. Why not? Like, I don't know. I just feel like, again, we leave so much on the table, and I think there's just a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of businesses. Michelle and I chatted briefly on Sunday. We just want to encourage more businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Pryor, same question.
I'll start with, if you did outdoor dining year round, you would hear it from people who want their parking spaces back. I assure you, that's true. So we have an economic development plan that I mentioned, that I sat through some really thoughtful discussions. We have unmet needs. We have certain industries that we think could be attractive. I think the select board, with a new manager in place, we ought to ask him to take the lead with our town planner and potentially bring in an intern or another resource to really jumpstart that. Seamus is right about making it easier to do business in town. To that one-day liquor license, that extension of business hours, the entertainment license that you want to have. We can streamline that. I think we need to make it clear, just like development, what's possible, what isn't possible, what do you need. Here's the package of items. Please go. If you satisfy these 12 things, we will hand you your license. The select board will vote that on its next consent agenda. The other piece, I think, that, you know, with the town manager hopefully moving into this role and doing more to attract some business, it's up to every resident and your relatives and those who visit to patronize the businesses. If you build it, we hope they come, but it's up to us to keep them going, to keep them viable going concerns.
Thank you. Next question. Do you support ranked choice voting in Winchester? Why or why not? Ms. Pryor.
I like this question. It will be a town meeting article. We have, you know, often so few choices. I wonder what the ranking would be. There's going to be one and then two, and then someone wins. So, however, in concept, I think it makes some sense. I look forward to seeing what our resident is bringing forth. I think being able to show your preference, there's some value. I think in larger, I think about the city of Boston, right? They run a mayoral primary. There's 12, 15 candidates. The top two do a runoff. I don't know that we'll have such robust fields. I mean, town meeting is kind of, it's not ranked choice voting. It's 8 people and, you know, it's 10 people and 8 slots. I'm not sure how it necessarily advances. I'm not sure who is losing on the margins, but I look forward to, to hearing more at town meeting and having robust elections and robust candidate fields. I think that would be great.
Thank you. Mr. Brady, same question.
I think it's a really exciting opportunity. You know, at one point I brought forth an article that was to have term limits. And the intention of that was I wanted to encourage people to run because, as you can see, most people are afraid to run against incumbents. That's just how it is. So I think if we had ranked choice voting, I think people might be less hesitant to jump in because maybe they think, oh, maybe I have a better chance. If there's more candidates, if there's 3 or 4 candidates for 2 slots or 5 candidates, if we have ranked choice voting, I have a much better chance. So as far as my understanding of it, I think in my mind as a candidate, a many-time candidate at this point, hopefully the last time, that is something that would encourage me to run. So I don't see any downsides to ranked choice voting. I think it might just get more people involved. And again, it is, I give so much credit to Michelle, to everyone who runs. It's really hard to put yourself out there and run, put yourself on the ballot, right? That takes a lot of courage. I think back to, the Roosevelt speech about the person in the arena, right? Like, we're the people in the arena. There's a lot of people talking a lot on Facebook. I think if you comment on Facebook, you should have to run for townwide office. I mean, I'd love to see that. Maybe I'll propose that article. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question. Would you recommend any changes to the current process for making our roadways and intersections safer for motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists? Mr. Brady.
So this one's also kind of near and dear to my heart because I'm very proud. Anthea and I have a 3rd grader who in his career from kindergarten through 3rd grade has gotten a ride to school once. So he is a dedicated walker. He thinks that's important. We didn't put that on him. There's many days that, unfortunately, I'm already at work, but Anthea would love to drive when it's a torrential downpour, and nope, they're walking. So, I mean, I think we really need to make sure that things are safe for young people, but also for people with mobility issues. You know, sometimes when I look at how long you have to cross the street, I'm like, okay, I made it, and you know, I run marathons, so the fact that I barely made it across this intersection, like, you know, a person who's struggling is not going to make it. So I think, you know, for me, it's a lot about working with the police department. You know, I feel like people don't really think as much about that, but they have a lot to do with that. And I would really like to collaborate with them to really look at particular intersections, because again, they have the data. This is where people speed. This is where accidents happen, right? Like, they're tracking all that data. So I would love to hear from them, like what can be done to make these improvements. We had, you know, TTAC, right? And now TTAC is gone, and that's sad. So I think we need somebody looking at it. And again, I think we probably already have some great people to take a look. And I just think it is an area that definitely warrants a good amount of attention.
Thank you.
And it falls.
Oh, what was it?
The banner.
Oh, yeah.
Now they
I'm
can
wearing
see our
sneakers.
shoes.
You got
Yeah,
me,
you
all
can see
right?
our shoes.
I'm wearing sneakers, whatever.
Yeah, like Kim will just help you with that.
Thank you.
There you go. I think it's more for you than us.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Pryor, same question to you. Would you recommend any changes to the current process for making our roadways and intersections safer for motorists, pedestrians, and cyclists?
100% yes. So Seamus mentioned the Transportation Advisory Committee, which was citizen-based. We still have a staff-based Traffic Advisory Committee. They do meet regularly. I think this is another meeting that with the town manager, you should go to that meeting. You should meet these folks. I live just beyond Sims Corner. That's got some engineering money to be redesigned and hopefully made safer. One intersection where I think I mean, this kind of gets to testing out the change before we actually pour the concrete. Wildwood, Woodside, that hard dog leg that comes up. I asked, they tell me that fire trucks can swing that corner. They tell me that ambulances can make the turn. Maybe I should just camp out there and, you know, wait for someone to pull an alarm, but I kind of doubt that. So we have designed, we did some really good work at Forest Street, right in Seamus and Anthea's neighborhood, to, you know, the crosswalk toward the bike path with some soft, you know, rumble strips so people know without hitting hard curbs. But we should be thoughtful about the uses. You know, people are crossing, can they be seen if cars are parked? Are cars parked too closely? How will people use it? How will traffic flow? How will people walk? How will bikes engage and approach? And I think we've done well in many places. I live at the end of Highland Ave and Main Street. That was a good improvement. I'm not sure, I would maybe jackhammer up that curb at Woodside and Wildwood if I could. We ought to test it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, we really ought to test it out with soft or cones or something before we actually commit. We have hard surfaces, and some of them are not as user-friendly.
Thank you. Just a reminder to hold your applause,
I just
please.
give up.
This will be our last question. How would you assess and mitigate the impact on certain streets and neighborhoods of a proposal to increase transfer station revenues by taking on more commercial haulers? Ms. Pryor.
Yeah, so I actually led the charge to get the commercial hauler pilot implemented here in town. We have a transfer station that has capacity. We utilize half of our actual certified capacity. We could accept twice as much trash in our transfer station by our license with the state. So we started with, we were going to go up to 4 commercial haulers. We had 2 apply. A very thoughtful process with Nick, the transfer station lead, to attract the right kinds of transfers of haulers, be they junk removal, people dropping off their pods, people downsizing from their houses, maybe be restaurant trash from a neighboring community. We did truck counts. We asked, we actually tracked which days of the week, which hours of time did they come, tell them not to come on Saturdays when the entire town shows up. We can continue to expand that thoughtfully, 2 haulers to 5 haulers to 8 haulers. We're not trying to go from 0 to 50 overnight, but talking about leaving money on the table with renting buildings or school choice, It's an area of opportunity that when we looked at the 4-month pilot, it was 6 trucks in a day, I think, like 40 trucks a week that went down into that transfer station. Because you don't want to have backups and traffic jams and emissions and people stuck with, trucks belching out smoke. I think we can be thoughtful. I think we can attract more business that way, and we ought to try to do so and keep our neighbors informed. Every meeting we had on this, we're noticed, we heard neighborhood comment, we collected data, and we tracked impacts.
Thank you. Mr. Brady, same question.
So I think, Michelle said a lot of great things that I agree with. I think it's all about the impact, so I think about looking at, okay, where are these vehicles coming from? Do we need to look at particular streets? Do certain streets then need to become one-way streets? Do certain streets need to have the sign that says no heavy trucking? Do we need to collaborate with these partners and, give them a guide to say, hey, you know what, if you're coming from the west side of Woburn, this is how we'd ask you to go this way. And, is that going to be a law that the police enforce? No, of course not. But, again, we're partners with these folks if we say, hey, to Michelle's point, we prefer you come at these times, so I think with enough planning, I think, again, it's going to have a very minimal impact on the community, but it's going to have a very positive impact financially. I think about, I love the transfer station. Some people are like, this is crazy. I'm like, no, this is great. I think it builds a sense of community. I don't love when I'm driving to work and I get stuck behind a garbage truck in a community and that adds 10 minutes to my commute. Like, I don't love that. I think we have a great resource. I think we should preserve it, and I think we should maximize it. And it's just an exciting opportunity.
Thank you. We will now ask the candidates for their closing statements. You have up to 60 seconds each. Ms. Pryor, you'll go first.
Thank you. Thank you to the League for hosting, for WinCam for broadcasting, to my opponent for running. It's important that voters know why we run and where we stand on the issues. Everyone who seeks public office is motivated by a desire to do what's best for Winchester. I care about our community, and I've seen firsthand how we all benefit from the talents of our municipal staff, our school employees, and the hundreds of dedicated volunteers serving in appointed and elected roles. I will work for all of Winchester's residents, and will continue to collaborate with stakeholders and staff to anticipate challenges and develop solutions. I'm the most qualified candidate based on my current role as Select Board Chair and knowledge of how the town operates. I know the right people to invite to the table, and so that we can address and anticipate challenges, advance opportunities, and creatively solve problems. I'm asking for your vote for another term on the Select Board. You can learn more about me on my website, electmichellepryor.com. And I ask for your vote on March 21st or sooner, should you wish to vote in person. That starts on Saturday, the 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brady.
So thank you all for being here. You have 2 very solid choices for Select Board, in my humble opinion. You can't go wrong. I'm willing and I'm eager to serve. I'll do it from whatever seat I'm in. I want to fight for the people who are struggling financially or otherwise in our town. That's really important to me. I think those folks don't often have a vocal advocate because they are just trying to make it through each and every day with their challenges. I'm thankful I don't have those challenges. I've been very lucky, but I came from a family that had some of those challenges, and I have a lot of friends that are still going through a lot of those challenges. And I won't get into their stories here, but that's really what motivates me. And, I just hope you'll join me in really fighting for those people who need someone to fight for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Please thank our candidates for participating in this debate.
I'll get a picture.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
everybody,
Clear my
before we
body
leave,
off and-
excuse me, before we leave, I have a couple of announcements. We definitely want to thank so many people, including our fantastic candidates for both school committee and select board. We are, thank you. To conclude, we also have a couple others that we really want to thank. First of all, to the members of the public, all of you who sent us suggestions for debate questions, and especially to our Winchester High School students for their contribution. To Winchester News for working closely with us to get election information to the voters. to the Cummings Foundation for generously supporting this event, and to the Jenks Center for providing us the use of the space. WinCam for recording the event and making it available to the public. And remember that both tonight's debate as well as last week's debate for the planning board will be able to be viewed on WinCam on demand. We also want to thank the town clerk's office and the election workers who are organizing a safe, orderly, and inclusive election. We have a number of volunteers here from the league who help plan, publicize, and carry out these debates, as well as compile the online candidate information. And finally, we mostly thank you, the voters, for exercising your right to vote and having your voice be heard. I have the very important dates, if you can hold on with me a minute, about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. The deadline to register to vote is Wednesday, March 11th. The deadline to apply for a vote-by-mail ballot is Monday, March 16th at 5 p.m. And for an absentee ballot, it is Friday, March 20th at noon. Early voting in person will begin at Town Hall on Saturday, March 14th, and continue Monday through Friday, the week of March 16th. And finally, Election Day voting will be held at Winchester High School from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st. Again, please remember to go to winchesternews.org or lwvwinchester.org to view all of the candidates' profiles. So thank you. Have a good night.
All right.